Hey guys, Razor Blade Apple Films here. Today we're going to be doing a review on the Benchmade 940. Alright, so the Benchmade 940 is a knife that I've been wanting for a while. I mean, when I first started getting into knives, and specifically when I first started looking into some of the Benchmade models, this has always been the knife that stuck out to me, and that I knew one day I was going to have to get. Saw a bunch of good reviews on it, afterwards, but initially I just loved the looks of it. So, I knew I was going to have to get it, but it was $180, and for some reason I kept putting it off, and every time I almost had enough, I was like, maybe I can just get something a little bit cheaper. I ended up getting like an exclusive brown paramilitary 2, and I was going to get this one, and then I had, I'm trying to think of what I got before that. I don't know, but I kept, either way, spending it on something else, but now I finally got the Benchmade 940 about a month and a half ago, and it is, as much as I want to say it's quickly becoming one of my favorite EDC knives, I think it is my favorite EDC knives. Yes, even better than the paramilitary 2. I think I honestly like it that much. So I'll put the specs in the description, and we'll just get directly into the design. Alright, so here is the 940. It's got a green anodized aluminum scale with a purple titanium backspacer. A lot of people don't like that. I love it. I love the green color initially, and when I saw the purple backspacer, I was like, oh my god. Normally I like knives that are open frame, or that have pillars right here rather than a closed back, just because it's easier to clean out, like with dust and stuff getting in it. But on this knife I don't mind, because I really like that purple. Really reminds me of the Joker, the DC character, because of the green and purple. So I like that. A lot of people don't, but I really like the color of the green. I like this kind of forest green more than the ugly Spyderco Delica green and Endura series, how they have that kind of light green. I don't really like that. I didn't really think, there's a lot of things I don't like. I wouldn't think I would like about this, because normally I don't like metal handled knives. Just because they're kind of smooth, they can maybe slip out of your hand easily. But this one feels great. I've heard people talk about how it's chalky, and that's a word they always use to describe it. I guess that's kind of a good analogy. I mean, it's not, it doesn't feel like a regular metal. It's kind of got like a little bit of a texture to it, but I guess powdery is kind of a good way to describe it. But it's not like there's any residue that actually comes off on your finger with it. Then it's got kind of these grooves in the handle, which don't really help for ergonomics or improving the grip. It's kind of just there for design. Looks really sleek to me. I don't mind. It's just a black painted pocket clip. It's probably the only thing I could say bad about this knife is I don't like the pocket clip. It's just a normal Benchmade pocket clip. It's got the black paint on it, which hasn't worn yet, so it's a little bit better than the Delicas. But I'm probably gonna replace it because I like this knife so much. I would actually buy a custom clip for this. So, ergonomics, they feel great. It's a perfect size knife for me too. I love the handle length and the blade length. A lot of cutting edge, but the blade length isn't really that long. I compare it to the Para 2. Almost the same blade length, but the cutting edge is a lot more, So I like that. But yeah, ergonomics are great. A little bit of jimping up here, which is more for looks than anything. Doesn't really add any grip, which I don't mind because I don't need jimping. It's got the Osbourne logo right here. It is made in USA, by the way. And it's made of S30V steel. Behave is about the same as the Spyderco S30V in my experience. Not really much of a difference. Held its edge for like a month, and then I touched it up on the Spyderco Sharp Maker, and now it's really sharp again. So there's the Benchmade butterfly logo. It says 940 right there. Thumb studs kind of have that stepped construction. Feels really comfortable. Blade length is a reverse, the blade shape is a reverse Tanto, which I think really looks cool. When I first saw it, it kind of reminded me of a straight razor. And if you've ever seen the movie Reservoir Dogs, There's a character in that movie that carries a straight razor around in his boot, named Mr. Blonde. You know, if you've seen that movie, you know that scene I'm talking about, and that's kind of what it reminded me of. So that's one of my favorite movies, and that's another reason that I kind of liked this knife. It just kind of reminded me of the Mr. Blonde straight razor from Reservoir Dogs. Which, you know, a straight razor doesn't have an actual point at the end, but still has this kind of weird looking grind from the top. Kind of looks like it slims out right here, but this is kind of just a swedge. And then it gets thicker towards the tip, which I really like. I can always appreciate a thick tip on a knife, because one thing that I don't like about the Paramilitary 2 is the tip is so thin, which can come in handy, but I also have to feel like I have to be kind of delicate with it. So you can see the difference there. So medium prying task you can probably achieve with this knife. Benchmade usually does their grinds really thick. Here's the Benchmade, the only other one I have, and you can see that one's pretty thick too. This is the 300-1. So yeah, blade shape, everything I love. So the locking mechanism is an axis lock. That's what Benchmade uses on a lot of their knives. You can see right here. Basically, these two little omega springs are pushing this lever forward, and when you pull it back, it kind of releases the detent for the knife. It's not a free dropper right now, but it is a really smooth knife. The thumb stud is kind of close to the handle. A lot of people complain they can't get to it, but you don't really have to, you know, push it out like that. You pretty much just push it forward, and it comes out really fast. So the deployment is very, very smooth. Almost a free dropping blade. Yeah, it is. It doesn't, you know, it doesn't swing like my other Benchmade. It's not as smooth as that one. You know, this one's really smooth. And this one isn't as smooth, but it's still a very smooth knife. And actually feels like it flies out of the handle faster, which, you know. So pretty much all you have to do is to, you know, unlock the blade. It's just pull it down, and you can just use momentum to kind of swing shut. Or if you wanted to be a little bit more careful, you could kind of just pull it back and push it down with your finger. You can see, because of the way it operates, it kind of like almost like sucks itself back in. You know, so the detent's great. Like I said, very smooth knife. Definitely an addicting, fun knife to, you know, just play around with if you're doing something else. You can also just pull both springs back, or both levers back with both fingers if you wanted to, and just, you know, fling it out like that. You know, or you could use thumb studs, or you can just, you know, do it really slow. A lot of people would think this would be a spring-assisted knife because of how fast it is. So here's a quick, oh, there's a beetle right there. So here's a quick sharpening test, or not sharpening, but sharpness test. Just a piece of notebook paper. So yeah, it's very sharp. Like I said, I used it for about a month straight, just normal EDC task. It wasn't like abusing it or anything, and then it held its edge for a long time. It didn't really need to be sharpened, but I just touched it up on the white stones on a Sharp Maker by Spyderco, which I would highly recommend if you're kind of a beginner in sharpening knives. So yeah, I like the steel. Holds its edge for a while. As long as you maintain it, it's not going to be hard to resharpen, because I never really let mine get that dull. And it came great from the factory. The edge was sharpened very evenly on both sides, unlike the 300-1. And while I'm at, you know, while I'm comparing it to that, I usually like long, slim knives. You know, kind of a skinny look over the kind of stocky, beefy-looking tank knife. So I like that better too. You know, this one's not a bad knife, but it, in my opinion, can't hold a candle to the 940. I mean, this is just a better knife all around. Better steel. Technically, it's not smoother, but it feels, you know, it feels like it deploys faster, because you can kind of make this fail if you don't give it a hard enough flick. And the flipper's not too good on it either, because you can also make that fail if you don't give that a hard enough flick. But, you know, it's not a bad knife. It's just I think this one's a lot better. And you can close it two-handed like you just saw me do. I mean, obviously, if you needed to do that. So, you know, just a very fun knife to play around with. Definitely recommend you get one. I just think the knife is, like, beautiful. It does have black hardware right here. And like I said, this is going to run you around, keep bumping my camera, this is going to be about a $180 knife, maybe plus shipping, maybe about $185, but I think it's worth every penny. Like I said, this is probably my new favorite folding knife that I own. Because I like it so much, I'm really thinking about getting the carbon fiber version with the open frame and the blue standoffs and the S90V steel, but it is a little expensive. It's like, I mean, it's like $260, which I think is a little overpriced, but I'm thinking about getting it. I don't know if I will, but until then, this will definitely do. By the way, one more thing is the centering isn't completely perfect. It's going a little bit to the right there, if you can see that. But I don't really care about that. I mean, it's not touching the side, so, you know, no real problem there. Alright, so here are some size comparisons with some other knives. Here is the 940. I'll put that in the center. Here it is next to the only other Benchmade I have, 300-1. Here it is next to what I think is a very good competitor, the Paramilitary 2, which I don't know if I really like this one better, but these two are definitely my favorite knives that I own as far as folders. Here it is next to another kind of slender design that I really like, and probably the best flipper I own, even though it's so cheap. This is only a $30 Kershaw Chill. And here is a Rat 1, which is going to be my next review. I'll put that right there. Alright, so there's an overhead view of it. Pretty much for me, the perfect size knife. So here's how it will ride in the pocket. It goes in really nicely because of the metal, or the anodized aluminum is really smooth, so hides really deep for a non-deep carry pocket clip. It's not that bad. It's actually pretty discreet, though the bright green kind of color will show. The blackened clip does kind of hide it better than a chrome clip would. So the concealment's not too bad. Alright, there's a shot of them all closed, and overall it does hide in the pocket very well because it's very slim and light. I forgot about that. I think this is like a 2.8 or 2.9 ounce knife, so very light. That's one of the reasons I like my Delica so much. I'm starting to not like the Delica that much just because I have such better knives, that compare with it, like including this, the Kershaw Chill and the Kershaw Skyline. But the Delica does have really nice steel, which is not as good as this, but this is a lot more money. Delica is only like $65. Like I said, this is going to be about $180. But highly recommended overall. And I mean, there's not much else to say about it. I pretty much just love everything about this knife. So if you could handle one in a knife shop or something, to maybe if you're not sold on the looks, to check it out. But if you're one of those people who likes to do that, I would say just take the gamble and just get this knife. If you're thinking about getting it, or if you're thinking it's a little bit too much money, then just save up the money and get it, and you will not regret it. So that's pretty much all I have to say about the 940. So thanks for watching, and hope you enjoyed it.